The red moons hung low in the sky, casting a soft, glowing light over the alien village of Caravel. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. The 5 dragon hatchlings had just been born, a rare event that happened only once every 100 years. But now, they were gone. The villagers stood in a silent circle around the empty stone nest. The sacred place was cracked, its edges scorched, and not a single hatchling remained. Their soft cries, once echoing in the cave, had vanished. Elder Varn dropped to his knees, his long gray tendrils falling over his shoulders. His voice shook as he whispered, "They are gone." "Our future is lost," mothers cried. Warriors clenched their fists. Some stared at the stars, searching for answers. Others looked at the nearby forest, the direction of the human outpost. "They took them," one villager growled. "The humans?" Another asked, "Who else? No other creature dares enter the sacred hatchery." Elder Varn raised his hand. "We must not act with rage. We need proof," but the damage was done. The whispers had begun. Fear spread fast. The dragon hatchlings were not just animals, they were sacred. They chose their own partners through bonding. That bond lasted forever. If the humans had taken them, it would break the ancient law. A scout named Yelra returned from the edge of the forest. Her breathing was fast, her hands trembling. I saw something strange," she said. All eyes turned to her. "I climbed the tall rocks near the human camp. There was a small fire. And beside it," she paused, 5 small bodies curled up, sleeping on a human's chest. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Dead?" someone asked. Yelra shook her head. "Alive, sleeping peacefully, as if they felt safe." Elder Varn's eyes narrowed. "Describe the human." "A man. Brown hair, quiet. He was reading something. Didn't look like a soldier." Another scout stepped forward. "Ethan," he said. "The human biologist. He lives alone. He studies plants and animals." "A harmless one," said Varn. "Then why are the hatchlings with him?" No one had an answer. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Ethan sat near his small campfire, sipping warm tea. His field journal lay open on his lap. His other arm rested carefully on the ground, where 5 tiny dragon hatchlings slept like kittens. Their small wings twitched. One of them snored softly. He smiled and whispered, "You all sure picked a strange place to nap." Earlier that day, he had found them near a fallen tree, hungry and scared. He didn't touch them, but he placed some of his protein food nearby and stepped back. To his surprise, they had walked toward him, then climbed into his lap, and finally onto his chest. They didn't want to leave. Ethan had seen many wild creatures, but this was new. These hatchlings were special, intelligent, connected. "I'm not your mother," he whispered, looking down at them. "But I guess you don't care." One of the dragons opened its golden eyes and licked his hand. Ethan chuckled softly. "I'll keep you safe, little ones." But in the shadows beyond the trees, someone watched him. Yelra had returned with another scout. They sat on high rocks, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. They saw the dragon snuggled against the human's chest. They saw how calm the creatures were, no chains, no cages, no fear. "They chose him," whispered the scout. "But why?" Yelra asked. The other did not reply. Back at Caravel, the village buzzed with noise. "They're alive, sleeping on a human. Is it magic? A trick?" Elder Varn stood before the crowd. "Enough!" he shouted. "We must find the truth. Gather the silent guards. We go at dawn, but we do not attack. Then what will we do?" asked a young warrior. Varn's eyes burned with determination. "We will watch, listen, and understand." Because deep down he feared something even worse than war. The dragons had bonded with a human, and once a dragon bonds, it never forgets. The forest was quiet but not calm. Ethan didn't know he was being watched. He sat by the fire, feeding the tiny dragon hatchlings bits of dried meat. One hatchling, the smallest with silver scales, curled its tail around his wrist and refused to move. The other slept soundly against his chest, breathing slow and steady. He whispered, "You guys sure aren't normal lizards, are you?" The silver one looked up at him, blinked its golden eyes, then yawned and placed its head back on his arm. Just a few meters away, hidden behind thick leaves and glowing moss, Yelra and 2 alien scouts lay flat on the high ridge. Their cloaks blended with the trees. They had watched the human for hours now, and still he had not harmed the hatchlings. He talked to them softly, He warmed them with his jacket. He even smiled at them like a parent. "This is not what I expected," whispered one scout. Yelra didn't answer. Her eyes stayed fixed on Ethan. She couldn't understand it. Dragon hatchlings were proud, nervous creatures. Even their own kind couldn't touch them without trust. But here they were, sleeping like babies on a human's chest. Suddenly, the silver hatchling looked up sharply. Its golden eyes locked straight onto the bushes. Yelra froze. Did it see her? The hatchling growled softly, not in anger but as a warning. Ethan turned, confused. "What's wrong, buddy?" he asked. The hatchling leapt from his arm and moved toward the bushes, wings half open, tail stiff. "Wait, hey." Ethan stood slowly, hands raised. "I'm not trying to hurt anyone." The silver dragon stopped just feet from the scouts. It sniffed the air, then turned back to Ethan, making a sharp chirping sound. The message was clear. Someone is there. But instead of running or grabbing a weapon, Ethan said something strange. "It's okay," he said to the hatchling. "They're not here to hurt you." The scouts looked at each other. How did he know that? "Go back to the others," Ethan said softly. "I'm sure they're getting cold." The little dragon hesitated, then slowly walked back to the fire. By morning, Elder Varn arrived with 6 more cloaked scouts. The sky was still dark, but the red moons had started to fade. Yelra gave her full report. "The human is alone. He's caring for the hatchlings like they're his own. He talks to them, feeds them, they protect him." The elder stayed quiet for a moment, then asked, "Did he seem dangerous?" "No," she said. "Strange, yes. But kind." Varn's voice lowered. "Then we must see him ourselves." Back at the camp, Ethan was boiling water. He had placed the hatchlings inside his old sleeping bag. They popped their heads out one by one like baby birds. The silver one rested on top, clearly the leader. "You really like attention, huh?" he joked. The dragons chirped. They were warm, safe, and strangely happy. Then he heard a voice. "You there, human." Ethan turned fast. 10 tall alien figures stepped out of the trees, all dressed in brown-green armor, eyes glowing under their hoods. At their front stood an elder, his body tall, shoulders heavy with age and wisdom. Ethan raised his hands. "I don't want trouble." Varn stepped closer. "Where did you find them?" "They found me," Ethan replied. "You expect us to believe that?" "I don't care what you believe," Ethan said. "I just know they were cold, scared, and alone. I helped them." The hatchlings chirped, then climbed out of the sleeping bag and moved toward Ethan, circling his legs protectively. The silver one growled at the aliens, tiny sparks dancing on its tongue. The warriors stepped back in shock. "They're protecting him," whispered one. Elder Varn stared, heart heavy with confusion. Ethan knelt beside the dragons. "It's okay, kids." "I'm all right," Varn asked. "Do you understand what this means?" "No," Ethan said. "But I know they trust me." "That should count for something." Yelra stepped forward. "Let him explain." Varn's eyes met Ethan's. "You will come with us," he said. "Not as a prisoner, but as a guest. The council must see this with their own eyes." Ethan nodded. "I'll come, but only if they come too." He pointed to the dragons. Varn hesitated, then gave a small nod. "So be it." As the group walked deeper into the forest, the hatchlings stayed close to Ethan's heels. They didn't look back once. From the shadows, more eyes watched them, not all friendly. Far above, in a hidden ship, someone else had also found the dragons. And they didn't want to protect them. They wanted to sell them. The morning light cut through the misty forest as Ethan followed the aliens toward their village. The 5 hatchlings trotted close to him, their scales glowing softly in the sunlight. The silver one, smallest yet bravest, often looked back at him as if to say, "Don't worry, we're with you." The alien warriors stayed silent. Every time one of them glanced at the dragons, they saw the impossible, the sacred hatchlings walking beside a human. To them, it was a symbol of something broken or something reborn. None could decide which. When they reached the great gates of Caravel, dozens of alien eyes turned toward them. Whispers spread like fire. "The human has them. They follow him. Is he the thief? Or the chosen?" Elder Varn raised his hand and the gates opened. Inside, the village shimmered with green crystal lights and tall vine towers that curved toward the sky. But even the beauty of the place could not hide the fear in the air. The council hall stood at the center, a circle of carved stone glowing with ancient runes. As Ethan entered, he felt the heavy stares of 10 alien elders. Each sat behind a silver flame that burned without smoke. Varn spoke first. Ethan of Earth, you stand before the elders of Caravel. You hold what belongs to our people. Tell us, how did the hatchlings come to you? Ethan took a slow breath. I found them alone near the river. They were hungry and scared. I didn't take them. They came to me on their own. A low murmur spread among the council. An elder with gold markings across his face leaned forward. You lie. No dragon has ever chosen a human, not in 1,000 years. Ethan looked down at the dragons beside him. The silver one squeaked softly and placed its small paw on his boot. Then maybe, Ethan said quietly, it's time for something new. The room went silent. Elder Varn studied Ethan carefully. Words mean little here. You must prove your heart is true. Ethan frowned. How? Varn motioned toward the central flame. You will face the trial of fire. It will test your soul. If the dragons truly chose you, you will survive. If not, you will burn. The other elders nodded in agreement. The decision was made. That night, they led Ethan to the Cave of Embers, a hollow mountain glowing from within. Rivers of light ran down its walls. The air was hot, almost alive. At the center stood a circle of molten stones and an ancient crystal shaped like a heart. The flame will test him, said Varn. No lies survive the heart fire. Ethan looked at the dragons. You stay here, he told them softly. But the silver one shook its head and stepped forward. No, said one warrior, blocking its path. They stay outside. The hatchling hissed, sparks flying. Ethan turned back. Please, he said. If this is about trust, then let them choose too. The elders hesitated. Varn finally said, so be it. But their fate will follow yours. Ethan nodded and stepped into the circle. The dragons followed, tiny feet glowing on the hot stones. As soon as he crossed the boundary, light flared around him. The crystal pulsed like a heartbeat. The heat grew intense, burning the air, but Ethan did not move. Sweat rolled down his face. His skin tingled like fire crawling under it. He heard voices, old and deep, echoing through his mind. Do you seek power? No. Do you seek glory? No. Then why protect what is not yours? Ethan looked down. The silver hatchling looked up at him, eyes bright like twin stars. Because no one else would, he whispered. The flames rose higher, wrapping around him and the hatchlings. The other dragons cried out, but the fire did not hurt. It felt warm, alive. Welcoming, outside the circle, the aliens gasped. The fire, it accepts him, Yelra whispered. When the light faded, Ethan stood untouched. The dragon's scales glowed brighter than ever. The silver one climbed his arm and rested on his shoulder, chirping proudly. Elder Varn's voice trembled. Impossible. The Heartfire has chosen him. The gold-marked elder slammed his fist on the stone table. He bewitched them. The fire lies. But Varn shook his head. No, the fire never lies. The warriors knelt, stunned. Even the flames bowed low before fading to calm. Ethan stepped out, exhausted but alive. So, do you believe me now? Varn looked at him long and hard, then nodded slowly. Perhaps. But the world beyond Caravel will not. There are those who would kill for what you now carry. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Yelra stepped closer, her face pale. The hatchlings are priceless. If outsiders learn a human bonded with them, they will come. Hunters, traders, raiders. You and the dragons will be targets. Ethan looked at the hatchlings huddled around his legs. Then we'll protect each other. The silver one chirped as if agreeing. Elder Varn sighed. Your trial is over, human, but your true test begins now. Night fell soft over Caravel, but no one slept. Ethan sat beside the council hall with the 5 hatchlings curled around him like a living blanket. The silver one, now clearly the leader, rested on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Tiny sparks rose from its nose and faded in the cool air. Yelra stood a few steps away, watching him with quiet eyes. Do you feel different after the fire? She asked. A little, Ethan said. Like something warm is living inside my ribs, not pain. Just heat. A small sun, Yelra nodded slowly. The heart fire leaves a mark on those who pass, most fail. You did not. Before Ethan could reply, Elder Varn called to them. Come, he said. There is something you both must see. He led them down a spiral path cut into black stone. The air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, a door of green crystal stood sealed with a silver thread of light. Varn pressed his palm to it. The light melted away. The door opened with a soft sigh. They entered the Hall of Echoes, the oldest place in Caravel. The ceiling was low. The walls were covered with carvings and painted scenes. At first Ethan thought they were flowers and storms. Then he looked closer, and his breath caught they were dragons. And humans. Together. In one carving, a tall human walked beside a grand dragon with wings like rivers. In another, children reached up to touch a dragon's snout while their parents laughed. In a third, a circle of flames burned bright around many figures, humans and aliens both. Hands joined, heads bowed. Ethan took a step closer. This is real? Varn's eyes were heavy. Yes, a long time ago, before the Great War, humans and dragons shared a gift. The dragons called it heart flame, a rare light that lives in certain people. Those with heart flame did not control dragons. They listened to them. They protected them. They became their family. Yelra traced a line on the stone. The war broke the bridges between worlds. The bond was forgotten. Only the legends remained. Ethan placed his hand on the carving. The silver hatchling climbed to his shoulder and pressed its head to the same stone as if greeting an old friend. Varn led them to the far wall. There, a faded mural showed 5 small dragons circling a human, with a blue glow inside his chest. Above them, strange letters spiraled like smoke. What does it say? Ethan asked. Varn read softly, voice trembling. When the red moons look down and the nest goes silent, the flame will choose again. 5 small shadows will sleep on a stranger's heart. He will walk through fire and not be harmed. He will be the bridge. Yelra's eyes widened. It is the same number. 5 hatchlings. A stranger's heart. The trial, Ethan swallowed. The warmth in his chest pulsed, gentle but firm. A bridge to what? Peace, Varn said. Or danger. A bridge can carry friends, but it can also carry thieves. He pointed to a darker panel. In it, metal ships rained fire on forests. Cages lined a market square. Dragons chained. Eggs cracked. Humans and aliens both fighting, both bleeding. Yelra's voice turned hard. We must protect the hatchlings. If raiders learn a human bonded with them, they will hunt you. They will hunt us, I know, Ethan said. He looked down at the hatchlings. The smallest, a green one with speckles, nudged his hand as if to calm him. Varn faced Ethan. There is another test. Not of fire, of memory. It is called the listening stone. He took a small crystal from a niche. It was dull at first, then glowed faint blue when placed in Ethan's palm. Hold it close to your heart. Think of the moment you met them. Ethan obeyed. The crystal warmed. His vision went soft. He saw the fallen tree. The storm-loud river. He felt their fear as if it lived in his own skin. Cold, empty, hungry. He saw himself stepping back, not touching, not forcing. He heard his own voice saying, "It's okay. I'll stay right here." And then he felt the weight of 5 tiny bodies crawling into his lap. Trust like a small fire growing. The crystal flashed bright, then clear as water. A soft chime rang through the hall. Yelra's lips parted. The stone accepts him. Varn bowed his head. Then the old stories wake again. Ethan exhaled. What do I do now? Learn to hear them, Varn said. Their minds speak in images and feelings. The heart flame will help you listen, and we will help you hide. Hide. The elder's face turned grim. Scouts saw lights beyond the ridge. Not the glow of our people. The flicker of metal eyes in the sky. Yelra stepped forward. Raiders? We do not know yet, Varn answered. But we will act as if they are. He turned to Ethan. You and the hatchlings will not sleep in open air again. You will live in the veiled grotto under the old roots. Only the council knows its paths. Yelra will be your shield. Yelra nodded at once. I will guard them. Ethan hesitated. I won't run. If danger comes, I stand with you. Varn almost smiled. Standing is good. But living is better. The dragons have not chosen a dead hero. They left the Hall of Echoes and moved through narrow lanes to a hidden door woven with vines. Inside lay a quiet cave warmed by gentle steam flowing from the earth. Pools glowed with soft light. The hatchlings chirped happily and splashed at once, tails flicking like playful otters. For a moment, Ethan felt peace. Then the silver hatchling froze, head tilted toward the ceiling. The others went still. All 5 turned to the same point as if hearing a faraway bell. Ethan's chest warmed sharply. A picture flared in his mind. The forest at night, shadows moving between trees, a cold hand reaching for an egg that was not there. Metal, wire, nets. He stood up fast. They're coming, Yelra drew her blade. Where? Ethan listened to the warmth. The silver hatchling gave a short, urgent chirp. From the sky, Ethan said, soon. Far above Caravel, a dark ship slid through the clouds with its lights off, hunting for a signal worth more than gold. The night over Caravel looked calm, but the air felt tight, like a drum skin before a strike. Ethan stood at the mouth of the veiled grotto with the 5 hatchlings crowded around his boots. The silver leader pressed its forehead to his knee, sending a thin, warm pulse through his chest. A picture formed in his mind. Dark wings, metal teeth, nets that close and do not open. Raiders, he said softly. Yelra checked the strap on her blade. Then we move before they do. Elder Varn arrived with 3 scouts carrying wrapped bundles. Tools, he said, handing Ethan a pack. Your kind likes tools. Ethan opened it. Inside were crystal shards, coiled vine cables, small clay jars with glowing dust, and a set of bone pins. Primitive, yes, but clever. He smiled. Tools are only half the trick, he said. The other half is how we use them. He knelt and drew simple shapes in the dirt. A ridge line, a narrow pass, a bend in the river, and the village at the center. He placed 5 pebbles near the ridge. The ship will look for heat, he said. Fires, bodies, power cells. We give them the wrong heat. Varn raised an eyebrow. A lie? A safety, Ethan answered. We build fake camps with warm stones and shimmering dust. We make them waste time. While they chase ghosts, we set the trap. Yelra watched the quick, steady lines of his plan. I can lead the silent guards, she said. We place the decoys on the ridge and the marsh. Ethan nodded, then tapped the pass where the rock walls grew tall and close. Here is the mouth that bites, he said. We make it narrow. We make it bright and loud at the wrong moment. He looked to the hatchlings. And we make it scary. The silver one chirped, eager. Varn frowned. Scary how? Ethan lifted one of the jars. These dust jars glow when heated. If the dragons breathe even a little spark, it will burst like a star for a second. A false lightning. Varn's eyes widened. Will it harm them? No, Ethan said. But it will blind the raiders for a breath. One breath is enough. They moved fast. Through the trees, Yelra and the silent guards ran like shadows, placing warm stones wrapped in moss at false camps. They hung pots with glowing dust high in the branches and tied vine cables across unseen paths. They rubbed crushed leaf oil on the ground to confuse tracking dogs. Back at the pass, Ethan stacked flat rocks in tight V-shapes, turning the path into a narrow funnel. He tied the vine cables to bone pins on either wall. One hard pull and the lines would drop like curtains. He set jars of glow dust in safe pockets behind rocks, not in front. The sparks would flash outward, not inward. The hatchlings worked beside him, small bodies quick and bright. The green speckled one carried pins in its mouth and placed them where he pointed. The blue one fanned its wings over a jar to cool it. The red one, bold and clumsy, tried to lift a whole stone and fell backward with a squeak. Ethan laughed, then caught it, holding the warm bundle close. You're brave, he whispered. But careful is another kind of brave. The red one licked his chin and chirped with pride. Yelra returned, breathing steady. Decoys set, she said. If the raiders chase heat, they will chase shadows. Ethan checked the lines again. Good, he said. Now we wait. They did not wait long. The first sign was not sound, but silence. The forest stilled. Even the river seemed to hold its breath. The silver hatchling went stiff and looked straight up. Then they heard it, a low hum deeper than thunder rolling over the trees. The ship slid out of the clouds like a dark whale. No lights, no windows. Just a smooth belly and a square mouth for swallowing prey. A beam swept the ridge. It found the warm stones. It found the false camps. The ship slowed. A hatch opened and 3 small craft dropped like black seeds, each humming with cold purpose. Good, Ethan whispered. Taste the bait. The small craft split apart, one toward the marsh, one toward the ridge, one straight toward the pass. Ethan's chest warmed again. The silver hatchling sent him a picture of metal jaws and hooked ropes. He nodded and took his place behind the rocks with Yelra and 2 guards. The other villagers stayed hidden behind a second line farther back. The craft entered the pass, low and steady. It scanned the ground. It did not see the vine cables. It did not see the jars. Ethan raised 3 fingers. The hatchlings crouched. Yelra's hand hovered over a pin. 3, 2, 1. Now, Ethan said. Yelra yanked the line. The vine cables dropped like snakes across the path. The craft tried to rise but snagged. Its engine roared and the rock walls shook. "Spark," Ethan whispered. The red hatchling puffed a small breath at the nearest jar. Light exploded, white and hot and sudden. The craft's sensors blinked out for a heartbeat. In that breath, Yelra leapt forward and slammed a bone pin into a joint panel. The craft tilted, screaming metal. It spat a net, desperate and blind, but the green-speckled hatchling darted under it and bit through a corner line with sharp teeth. The net fell dead. From the craft's side hatch, 2 raiders jumped, masks gleaming, guns low. The blue hatchling hissed and flashed another jar with a puff. White light blew across their visors. They stumbled, firing wide. Ethan rose and threw a clay pot at the ground between them. It cracked, releasing a cloud of sharp scent. Raider masks fogged. They coughed, blind and angry. "Back!" Yelra shouted. "Back to the bend!" They moved, steady and quick, drawing the raiders deeper into the funnel. Behind them, the second line of villagers pulled tight another set of cables. The pass became a web. The craft tore free with a roar and rose just enough to clear the rocks. Its mouth turned, ready to burn the ground. "Last flash," Ethan called. The silver hatchling breathed the smallest spark, almost nothing over the final jar. A star bloomed. The craft jerked to avoid the glare, struck the rock lip and spun. It crashed into the narrow stream and stuck half sideways, engines wheezing like a dying bull. Silence fell for one long second. Then the forest erupted with shouts as the silent guards surged forward, blades ready. Ethan held up his hand. "Wait!" From the broken craft, a third raider climbed out slowly, hands raised. The visor cracked, showing one frightened eye. He looked not at the villagers, but at the 5 hatchlings clustered at Ethan's feet. And he smiled. "Found them," he said into a shoulder mic. "Confirm 5 targets with a human bond. Sending mark. Bring the cage." Above the clouds, something bigger turned. The broken craft hissed like a wounded animal. Steam rose from the cracked engine. Yelra and the silent guards held their positions, blades ready but still. The 5 hatchlings pressed close to Ethan's legs, eyes bright, bodies tense. Above the clouds, a deeper sound rolled, heavy, slow, and certain. The raider's shoulder mic flashed a green dot. Somewhere in the sky, a larger ship began to turn toward the pass. Yelra spoke low. "We must move them now." Ethan nodded, but the raider with the cracked visor lifted one hand. "Don't," he said, voice thin. "You can run, but the cage will still find you." "What cage?" Ethan asked. The raider smiled without humor. "The kind that closes around hearts." A second beep lit his mic. He jerked forward to grab it, but Yelra's blade flashed, cutting the strap clean. The device fell into the shallow stream with a hiss and died. "Go," Yelra said. "To the grotto." "I'll hold the mouth." Ethan looked up. The sky darkened, not with clouds, but with shadow. The large ship finally showed itself, flat-bellied with 4 black fins and a ribbed underside like a metal whale. Panels opened along its sides. Nets hung inside like folded spiderwebs. "Not the grotto," Ethan said. "They will follow heat again. We lead them away." He pointed toward the stone terraces above the river, where pale ferns glowed and the rock steps zigzagged like broken teeth. "High ground. Narrow path. They cannot drop a full cage there." Yelra glanced once, then nodded. "Move," they ran. Behind them, the villagers pulled back in small groups, silent and practiced. The hatchlings flowed with Ethan like water, fast and bright. The silver leader stayed at his heel, sending a steady pulse to his chest. Fear, yes, but shaped into courage. The big ship roared above the pass and spat 2 cage pods. They fell fast, then snapped open into metal rings that tried to close on heat. One trapped only rocks and vines. The other caught the broken craft by mistake and sealed around it with a crack. "Good," Ethan breathed. "Waste your bite." The raiders, now 6 strong, sprinted along the pass on foot, faces hidden, rifles low. They were fast, but the terraces were faster. The steps forced them to climb where Ethan had already set bone pins and vine cables earlier in the day. He had placed them not for this plan, but for a different trap. Still, the land liked to help. At the first bend, Ethan stopped and knelt behind a flat stone. He set a small crystal shard in a notch. The blue hatchling crouched beside him, tail flicking. "Little spark," he whispered. The blue puffed the tiniest breath. The shard glowed and hummed, sending a thin, warm line through the rock. On the ledge below, 3 jars hidden in fissures glowed to life. When the first 2 raiders stepped under them, the jars flashed. No fire, only a blinding white scream of light. The raiders stumbled and shielded their eyes. Yelra's guards swept from the side, tripped them with a vine cable, and dragged them out of the path. No killing. Not yet. Bind hands. Take weapons. Move on. The 3rd raider fired blind. A shot cracked stone near Ethan's head. The green speckled hatchling jumped without thinking, landing on the raider's wrist and biting down. The shot went wild into the sky. Back, Ethan called, reaching, but the raider swung hard. The green one hit the stone and slid. The silver leader made a sound Ethan had never heard, high, sharp like a broken bell. All 5 hatchlings turned together. The red and gold hatchlings rushed the raider's legs. The blue flashed another shard. White flared. Yelra moved like a shadow and struck the rifle away. Ethan scooped up the green, heart hammering. It trembled in his hands but blinked twice, alive. Brave, but careful, he said, voice shaking. Careful, little one, they climbed again. The big ship adjusted, angling for a better drop. Its shadow rolled over them like night. From its belly, a long tube extended with 6 spinning blades. It wasn't a net. It was a siren. A sound weapon meant to freeze warm bodies where they stood. Ethan felt the silver's warning before the first note hit. Heat flared in his chest, then spread like a shield through his ribs. When the siren screamed, it hit him like ice water. But the warmth pushed back. The hatchlings pressed to him, bodies shaking, eyes hard. Behind them, 2 guards fell to their knees, hands over ears. Yelra staggered, teeth clenched. Down, Ethan shouted. He dropped to one knee and pulled the silver close. The warmth in his chest swelled and pulsed outward like a small sun. The siren's scream bent around them, its edge dulled. He looked up at the tube. The blades flickered. The siren needed clean air to sing. Dirty air would choke it. Ethan grabbed a pouch from his belt. Powder ground from sweet root and iron leaf, mixed with the same dust that flashed in jars. Not to burn now, but to bloom. Silver, he said. On my mark, small breath. Only small. The leader's eyes met his. It understood. Ethan tore the pouch and threw the cloud into the air as the tube hovered above. Now, the silver breathed the softest spark. The cloud didn't explode. It flowered, a wide, slow bloom of thick, glittering smoke. It rose into the siren's blades. The scream broke into a cough, then a whine, then nothing. The tube seized and tilted. A small fire licked its rim. Move, Yelra shouted, already lifting the fallen guards. The ship tried a different tactic. A side hatch opened. A heavy figure stepped to the edge in powered boots, carrying a shock cage, a ring that throws lightning strings. He leapt, boots flaring, aiming to land before Ethan and cut them off. Ethan saw the angle and knew he couldn't outrun it. He turned to Yelra. Take them. Yelra hesitated. Ethan, go! He ran the other way, straight across the ledge toward a narrow spur, drawing the cage bearer after him. The hatchlings squealed in panic, but Yelra hissed a command, voice firm, and swept them around the bend. Ethan's feet hit loose gravel. The spur narrowed to a blade of stone above the river. The cage bearer landed behind him with a heavy thud, metal ring humming. Turn around, the raider said. You walk and they live. Ethan smiled a tired, small smile. No. He stepped backward off the spur. For one heartbeat, there was nothing under him but cold air and the silver shine of water. The raider swore and jumped after, thrusting the ring forward to catch him mid-fall. Ethan twisted in the air and threw his last clay pot at the raider's boots. It shattered into sticky resin. One boot locked. The raider spun, off balance, and struck the stone wall hard. The ring fired wild. Lightning strings snapped out and tangled in the overhang above. Ethan hit the river. It punched the breath out of him. The cold ate everything. He rolled, scraped against rock, and felt the current take him. Above, the lightning strings pulled the overhang. A chunk of rock broke loose and fell. The raider lifted his head just in time to see it. The rock slammed his shoulder and pinned him to the wall. The ring dropped into the water and went dark. Ethan fought to surface. His chest burned. He kicked, grabbed a root, and dragged himself toward a low bank. He coughed, spat, and laughed once like a broken engine. Still here, he whispered. A small weight bumped his shoulder. The silver hatchling. It had dived after him, tiny chest heaving. The others scrambled down the bank with Yelra, who was wet up to her waist and furious. You jump again, she said, and I throw you myself, but later. Ethan grinned weakly. Deal! The big ship turned once more, engines deepening. But now the terraces burned with village lights. From every ledge, from every path, more of Caravel's people stood together, bows, slings, crystal throwers, and bright jars ready. Varn's voice rose from the heights, old and strong. "This is our sky!" The villagers hurled a storm of light. Jars flashed. Shards sang. The ship's sensors flooded white. It rolled and climbed, unable to see, unable to aim. Its belly closed with a frustrated groan. Then slowly, it pulled back into the cloud, wounded but not dead. Silence spread, broken only by the river and the soft cries of the hatchlings. Elder Varn descended the steps and looked at Ethan, soaked, shaking, still standing with 5 small dragons pressed to his legs. The old warrior placed his hand over his own heart, then touched Ethan's shoulder. "Dragonheart," Varn said, voice rough with pride. "Our first of the new era." The villagers took up the name, soft at first, then strong. Dragonheart. The hatchlings chirped and climbed Ethan's chest, tiny claws careful on his torn jacket. The silver pressed its head to his throat and breathed a warm, steady glow. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. He felt the rhythm. 5 small pulses, 1 old world, 1 new promise. Then he opened them and looked to the clouds. "They will come again," he said. "Yes," Varn answered. "And next time, they will bring teeth we have not seen." Yelra slid her blade back into its loop. "Then we sharpen ours." The red moons rose higher, washing the stone with soft bloodlight. The battle was over. The war had only just begun. Morning rose slow over Caravel. Mist floated above the river like soft breath. The terraces were quiet except for small sounds, tools being set down, jars being cooled, ropes being gathered. After a long night, the village finally exhaled. Ethan stood on a sun-warmed rock with his jacket drying beside him. The 5 hatchlings curled around his boots, asleep and safe. The silver leader kept one eye half open as if guarding even while dreaming. Now and then it made a tiny sound, like a song no one else could hear. Yelra came with a short smile and a bundle of dry clothes. "Before you try another river trick," she said, "wear these." Ethan took the bundle, grateful. "Any sign of the ship?" "Gone past the ridge," she answered. "But it left watchers. We cut 2 signal stones in the forest. It will try again when the sky says yes," he nodded. "We won the night. Not the story. Stories belong to those who stand at the end," Yelra said. "Let us be those people." Elder Varn called them to the central square, an open place paved with round stones rimmed with green crystals that pulsed like a calm heart. The entire village gathered there, quiet but bright. No drums, no horns, only soft steps and warm eyes. Varn stood in the center and lifted his hand. "Caravel," he said. "We saw what we were not ready to see. We learned what we had forgotten. We fought with light and rope, and we held our home. Today we speak truth in the open sun." He turned to Ethan. "Come, Dragonheart." Ethan walked forward, the hatchlings following like a silver tail. The crowd parted for them, heads bowing slightly. The silver leader hopped onto his arm, then climbed to his shoulder and settled like a small crown. A stone bowl stood at Varn's feet. Inside burned a low blue flame. He took a smooth crystal from his belt, bright as morning water, and dipped it through the flame without burning. Then he placed it on Ethan's open palm. "Long ago," Varn said, "dragons and humans walked as kin. The bond was not power. It was promise. We broke it in the war. Today the promise rises again." He faced the village. "Do we accept this human as one of us?" A soft, steady answer rose like a tide. "We accept." The silver hatchling lifted its head and sang, not loud but clear. The other 4 joined, each voice a thin line of light. Ethan felt the sound in his chest more than in his ears. The crystal warmed under his fingers and began to glow from inside out, mirroring the heat he had carried since the trial. Barnes smiled, rare and real. "Then hear the old words once more." He set his hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Guard their bodies with yours. Guard their minds with your silence. Take no coin for their breath and trade no secret for fear. You are not their owner. You are their door." Ethan swallowed. "I will," he said. The silver pressed its forehead to his jaw as if sealing the vow. Yelra stepped forward and placed a thin band of woven vine around Ethan's wrist. Symbols glimmered in the strands: dragon, flame, river, root. "This is your mark," she said. "So our people know you are ours and we are yours." The village did not shout or cheer. Instead, they touched hand to collarbone, then opened the hand outward to him, a sign of welcome. It felt larger than noise. It felt like home. For a few hours, they were allowed to rest. Children brought cooked roots and fruit. Old warriors mended straps and sharpened tools. Ethan showed the youngest how the hatchlings liked their tails warmed near the soup pot. The red one tried to taste the spoon and sneezed at the spice. Everyone laughed, relief breaking like rain. At midday, Yelra returned from the ridge with news. "The big ship turned east," she reported. "Perhaps it thinks we moved the hatchlings. Perhaps it waits for a stronger night." Varn nodded. "We will not waste the sun. We will set eyes on the sky roads and teach our young to read cloud shadow. And you," he said to Ethan, "will learn the deep paths under our roots. If the day comes when we must vanish, you will lead them in the dark." Ethan looked at the 5 small faces, each bright and curious. "I will lead them," he said, "but I will not hide their light forever." Varn's gaze softened. Light does not belong to shadows, but sometimes it passes through them to reach the open field. That evening, as Red washed the world again, a quiet ceremony began at the Veiled Grotto. No council, no guards, only Ethan, Yelra, and the 5 hatchlings. At the water's edge stood a carved post with old words, and beside it a low stone shaped like a pillow. Yelra spoke first. "Names are doors," she said. "The dragons will choose their own one day. Tonight we give you ours for them so we may call and be heard." She touched the silver, star front for the one who stands first. She touched the green, speckled one. Leaf flicker, quick and bright. The bold red, ember bite. Hot heart, careful feet, the blue, mistwing, who cools the fire and keeps the path. And the small gold, sun quiet, soft light, deep courage. Ethan repeated each name softly. The hatchlings chirped as if accepting. Starfront, silver, climbed to the top of the carved post and lifted its little head to the red moons. For a moment the grotto glowed brighter, not from jars, but from them. The warmth in Ethan's chest pulsed once, twice, steady as a drum. He felt something new in the glow, a door opening inward. A picture formed at the edge of his mind, not from fear this time, but from hope. Children of Caravel running with dragon wings casting friendly shadows. Bridges rebuilt. A ship from Earth landing without soldiers. Hands meeting over a fire. Laughter louder than alarms. He opened his eyes. Yelra was watching him. "What did you see?" she asked. "A road," he said. "Not easy, but ours." They walked back to the square. The sky was calm. The watchers reported no shadows, no hum. The village ate together. Music rose, simple pipes and skin drums, soft enough not to call the wrong ears. Some danced. Some slept where they sat. The hatchlings curled around Ethan's ankles as if they had always been there. Before sleep, Varn spoke to him alone. "You can leave with first light," the elder said gently. "Some will say the hatchlings must vanish. Some will say the human must hide. I will not chain you to either word. Choose your way, Dragonheart. We will stand beside it." Ethan looked at the faces around the fire. Yelra steady and sharp. Children brave in small ways. Elders who still carried young eyes. He looked at Starfront and the others already dreaming their small dragon dreams. "I won't run," he said. "We build here. We teach here. If storms come, we bend. If teeth come, we bite. But we live here." Varn's smile returned, thin and bright. "Then tonight you belong to 2 homes," he said. "Ours, and the one that wakes when 5 small hearts sleep on your chest." Later, under the red moons, Ethan lay back on a warm, flat stone. One by one the hatchlings climbed onto him, Starfront at his shoulder, leaf flicker over his heart, ember bite on his arm, mistwing across his ribs, sun quiet tucked under his chin. Their breathing synced with his. The village lights dimmed. The trees whispered. High above, far beyond the ridge, a wounded ship limped toward a bad master who would ask hard questions. But that story would wait. Here, tonight, the promise held. They were no longer lost. They were home.